If you stop drinking coffee and switch to matcha and then you end up drinking coffee instead, you might feel some of these things. This is what I did for 30 days. First week sucks. You're gonna feel tired, you're gonna feel a dip in energy. And if you've ever given up coffee before, you might also feel some headaches. But if you're replacing it with matcha, I would say the headaches are less likely because usually you get caffeine withdrawals. And at least with matcha, you're still getting caffeine to prevent those crashes. By the second week, it'll feel a little bit better. You'll still feel tired, just not as exhausted as the first week. I'm not a scientist, but what I think is happening is that your body is recalibrating to the amount of caffeine that you typically get. It's learning how to function with less caffeine than previously. But if you're an actual scientist and you know anything about caffeine withdrawals, feel free to comment here and correct me if this is wrong. Someone told me that matcha and coffee have the same amount of caffeine. This is not true. However, you can adjust the amount of matcha that you would consume to equal the same amount that you would get from a cup of coffee. You'll probably also hear a lot about sustained energy from matcha versus the crash that you get from drinking a cup of coffee. And this is not something I really noticed until week 3. Matcha, you do kind of feel your energy gradually going up and then a slow come down. When I started drinking coffee again, I immediately noticed this difference. With coffee, you get a sudden spike of energy, and with matcha, that doesn't happen. That's what people are talking about when they say matcha gives you sustained energy. My overall take from this 30-day self-experiment is that if you feel a lot of anxiety, if you get really jittery from coffee, and if you feel like you need a little break from it, matcha is a very good replacement. But if you also really like the taste, and you also kind of like having that sudden burst of energy, and maybe you don't need to try this, but do whatever you want. Would you make the switch from coffee to matcha? Or have you already tried it?